Welcome everyone. I hope everyone's going well tonight. Yeah, let's jump straight into it. So, what do we want to do? Well, we've got a little tiny to-do list today. We want to pretty much do the API partials for the projects. And what that means is we only want to send partial information back to the API. So we want the ability to grab that partial information and pass it through. I do believe we've already done this. We're probably just got to test it and so forth like that. We haven't written any unit tests for this. Today we're probably not going to write any unit tests. We probably will just move on with building up other stuff. And I'll probably hopefully get back to writing up unit tests tomorrow or on the weekend if I have time. So yes. Anyway, we're joined here with Socks. She's already causing some trouble, like trying to knock away the microphone. Stop it. Nope. Other things that we want to do is we want to focus on the product information. That's meant to be sorry, I'm a bit tired. That's meant to be project. Socks, your tail's in the way. Let me fix that up very, very quickly. There you go. Project information. And then from there, we've got to scope out what we actually need from, well, what sort of components we should be using and so forth like that. Oh, sorry, we're going. Alright. And we're also joined today with Socks. Once again, she's causing trouble. So, Socks, will you stop stealing my shit? Thank you. Let's get straight into it. So, last stream, we got this up and running. So, we can now create a new project. Oh, we do need to fix this, this little error here. Yeah, I've got that down as a bug. But we're not passing through any information over onto this particular screen itself. So a lot of this, the in progress will be a drop down, the priority will be a drop down. Story points is going to look like that. But of course, we'll make it look a lot nicer than that. The date time stuff will be pretty much, yep, like that. We'll deal with the group access and so forth like that. I've realized that these are bunched up and I kind of want to give them a little bit more space, but that's all part of the process that we'll go through. We'll actually be using VueJS for the description stuff. So, it's just a simple rich text editor, so we can probably like highlight some stuff here and go, all right, we can change this and so forth like that. We can go, I want that bold and so forth and so forth and so forth. We'll need to build something out for that. Don't know if it'll work directly in with VueJS, but I've got to read the documentation and do some research about that. I did some initial read some initial documentation. I know that you can do a lot of stuff with it. So, for example, build it out. But I've just got to play around with that. And hope for the best, really. So yeah, oh, we've hit our first ad break on Twitch. There we go. So yeah, happy Friday. Hopefully everyone's going well. Socks is ready for the weekend. As you can tell, she's really wanting to stand on the keyboard and the mouse. So yeah, figuring out a good scratch there. She's like, no, don't do that. And then she's like, oh, maybe I like that. Alright. No, you want to sit on the keyboard? No. You get to sit in the bed. We've got about 20 seconds left for the ads and we'll jump right back into it. So, yeah. Hopefully everyone's going well. Yeah, sadly Chillhop decided to not let us log in again, which is beyond annoying. And welcome back, everyone. Alright, so yeah, we will be looking at this to sort of figure out how we can do what we want it to do. Yeah, that's pretty much it for that. That will be the description. Linked objects. I've got to finalize my design for the linked objects. I've got a couple of ideas around that. I might just play around with that very, very quickly. The project documentation, I think we're actually happy with. We just don't have any of those icons or anything like that, and understandably, yep. Some of that will also move into Welk. What else is there? Oh yeah, so I'll also, talking about Welk, we'll have to import the tabs component and all that kind of fun stuff. So yeah, I'll have to finish that off sooner rather than later, but hey, I'll get there. Alright, so the first thing we want to actually do is, we've got pretty much the basic sort of layout here. We're not going to change too much with the basic sort of layout. We just want to get the information. We also got to, we're not going to go too far tonight. We've got to figure out how we want to save it. So one thing which we could potentially do with saving is have everything automatic. So the instant you sort of interact with something, like let's say this, it waits X amount of time before it just saves it. If nothing changes in that time, it just, you know, saves it automatically. However, I've got to, talk about UI UX, I've got to sort of talk to the user being like, hey, listen, we're just updating the documentation, However, there could be a lot of cases where someone doesn't want that to actually happen, where they do want the title to save, like a physical button that they can click to save it, and same with the description. I've just got to figure out that tonight, and that's pretty much it. We'll of course get the properties all sorted over here, because I'll need information for the status, I'll need information for the priority. Story points we won't need so much. Start and end date, we're just going to make sure that they fill out correctly. As for the group access and all that kind of stuff, I might have to think about the API around that. That shouldn't be too hard to actually implement. It could be a case of we grab the initial data and fill it out, or we do a secondary call where we call to get all groups and stuff like that. So I'm just giving it a bit of a thought. Yeah, it's just these things we've got to figure out tonight. Same with the user access. We've got to think about what happens if I click new user. Where am I getting all the those particular users from, and so forth like that. Same with stakeholders, customers, and yeah, how we're actually going to add that data into the system. Anyway, let's jump. I'm going to close that. Let's jump into the code itself. I'm just going to clear all the objects. We're just going to minimize everything. We're going to open up NearBeach. We're going to open up our source. We're going to open up our components. We're going to open up our project, and we've got our project page. So this is the basic sort of page that we have. Now, in reality, if there's nothing else in that project folder, I'll probably move this to be like project page and project, and yep. And Zulx, how are you going? Or Shulex, I don't know how to pronounce the X in that sort of case. How are you going? Hopefully you're going well. Good morning. Hopefully you're going well on this Friday. All right, so we've got a basic sort of component. We've got the basic sort of CSS where we've been happy, I think, with this layout so far. Yeah, I'm not going to touch too much with this at the moment. But we've definitely got this. And what we could do is on this, we could actually add a suspense. Where the suspense waits for the data that we're getting from the backend. And what we could potentially do is add in a little skeleton that waits for this page to load in. That way there's something there. It's actually neither. It's like Spanish can be like that sometimes. Oh, okay. So it'll be Ulix. I'm probably just making a fool of myself. Alright, so I want the details from the API to suddenly show. If we go into our localhost API version 1, we just go project. I don't know what project number this one is. We're just going to go 8. There you go. We've got the basic sort of stuff. We don't have much information here. We've got a priority, which is going to be the default. We don't even have an end date, start date, or organization. We do have a status. Sorry, because over here. Oh, I need more sleep. And we have a higher order status nested. A phonetic spelling would be something like Chulets. Oh, okay. Well, that's a lot easier to say. So, welcome back, Chulets. Alright, so the title, creating a new project, will need to overtake this. The description will be blank by default. The status will be changed to new, and the priority would be normal. And then we've got the story points, and everything else sort of falls into place. So, yeah. Alright. Now we've got to figure out where we want to actually do that. So if I added a suspense on this layer, what I need to do is I need to add in a skeletons that will look very similar to this. And just have this sort of layout. We could potentially copy how we've got the CSS down here. That wouldn't be too hard to actually do. Shouldn't take too long either, because we'll have the project information. So the project information will have the container and the properties. So we'll have the container. Yep, and then the properties, and then underneath that we've got properties component. Okay, yeah, we could potentially do that. For all the inputs and sorry, for all the inputs and so forth like that. Yeah, we're using Welk, which we're also building at the same time. It's going to be more of a skeleton component library, so it's going to be very bare basics. At the moment, you can see there's a lot of issues with it. Hopefully later during the stream we can start writing some bugs and some goals with this. It currently only has basic sort of drop downs, which if we actually go here, you can see doesn't look good styling. There's also a bug in there at the moment with them, which is annoying. Yeah, so hopefully, to answer your question, yes, but we're building that component library. So yeah, hopefully we can speed up that development process soon. So yeah, and make it look nice in NearBeach. So yeah, I've got to also really learn how to design, because I am terrible at it, if you can't tell. Uh, Alright, so what I want to do is I might hold off on... I might hold off on the suspense stuff at the moment because I don't know where I want to currently put it. That and on my local it loads up really quickly. So what I'll end up doing is... Where we go? Oh god, I don't know why I'm so tired. I've lost my train of thought. Alright, we're going to get the data inputted in. We're going to fix up the status and the priority to actually be drop-down boxes, which probably means we need to actually find a place where we can apply those properties. Yeah. Alright. So, we've got the general detail component, which if we go into the implementation, this, you can see this is where everything is. We also, at the same time, have some stores. We'll also need to grab current object permissions. So I'll also need to set that because that will actually have some impact on what we're actually showing. So yeah, it's a fair bit to do. I've also got to figure out where I want to get this data to be downloaded at what level. So which component will actually do the downloading of the data. Most likely at the moment I'm leaning on the project page. I can do it on mounted, get it to load in. You've been using shadeview.com. It's pretty good. It has default look to it, but since you install components, you can locally change them and make them your own. I think I've seen this before. Ah, they're using Tailwind. Okay. So I'm just reading through the thing, button. Okay. Yeah, they're gonna be doing what we want to do too. Where you override everything with variables and stuff like that. I haven't switched it down to reduce yet, if memory serves me correctly. I think I've just left it as the for loop for the moment. Yeah, I haven't done that yet. So I'll probably leave it there until I've got enough brain power to do it. I've just had a very long week, so I'm mentally exhausted beyond belief at the moment. Hence, I'm trying to do just easy tasks today. And even then, I'm struggling. But yeah, no, this looks like kind of what we want to do. Sorry, I'll bring this down so everyone knows what I'm talking about. So with Welk, oh, I hate when that does that. Clearly moved this down. This is clearly on focus. With Welk, we actually do want to do something like this where we can enable users to override stuff just using variables and so forth like that. So yeah, I know we're going to be doing that. There's the installation components. So the thing is, we're not using Tailwind. All right. Create your own variants as well. Yeah, I also have fun making warning and featured variants for your project. Oh, nice. Yeah. So with Welk, I'm hoping one, I've got to sit down and really get some design tips of how it'll work and so forth like that. But with Welk, what we want to do is we want to have it so that you can import just the components you want. And they're going to be light as possible and as dumb as possible. So, for example, the start date and end date is actually just a native input field, like so, with no magic happening on top. The idea around that is it's hopefully will help with the screen reading and so forth like that. So, yeah. All right, so where was I? I was trying to remember where I want to pull down permissions and so forth like that. Making, oh, yeah, I read that already. So, if we've got the project page, my thought is probably wrapping a lot of this in a suspense. And then the other thing is, what data do we need for this page? So one, we need the project information. Let's go over here. Let's write this down just because it will help. Data I need. Alright, so we'll need the project information. Okay, that's pretty easy. We just hit the API. That's not going to be hard at all. Oh yeah, Shad also uses native HTML elements and handles accessibility by default, which is, to be honest, it's what made me use it, because who wants to be doing that? Yeah. The reason why I'm building up Welk is also because I have another project that I want to actually start after I deliver 0.32, and I kind of want to have a component library that's going to be the same between the both, so that way I can easily, make modifications and change it how I need it to actually work. So yeah. In the past, I've used Naive UI. Yeah, it was okay, but I didn't like how some things worked with it, so, hence I've made that decision. Sorry, I'm getting distracted by the cube again. All right, so we need project information. That's a given. That's going to be easy for us to actually get. What else do I need? I will need the status and priority information. So I need a list of status. List of priorities. Yep, that will happen over there. Group access. Now this is one of those things where I don't need every single one. And my logic behind that is if I grab just 5, let's say we want to add in a group and someone clicks on add in a group, a little modal appears and then you can search for a group. I can then use Ajax to sort of get the data I want. So for example, if the user is searching for another group, it will then make that group appear in the drop down and everyone will be happy. I think I can get away with that. And having 5 in that drop down helps because I click on the drop down and I'll sort of have some dialogue being like, you can search for more. And yo, Zim, the goat, how are you going? Hopefully you're going well. So I'll go back to here. So list of priorities, list of group. Another thing we'll need is essentially the list of potential users. So people you can assign the jobs to. So down here you got user access. If they click that, that's actually connected to the groups. So the instant you sort of modify the groups, that's going to change and so forth like that. We already have that logic in NearBeach. So 0.31 has that logic. We're going to rip that out and actually utilize that exact same logic. In this sort of case, whenever you... So basically group member. Yeah. Cheers, thank you very much to Zim the Goat. I just need to get better at making things look nice. Yeah. Yeah, when you change the group, it'll bring in the new group members who can access this, because you don't want someone who's outside the group to actually access this particular project. You're specifying, hey, this project between these particular groups, and then these people have actually been assigned to it. The user access is probably the wrong word here. It should be assigned users. I think when I was doing the mock-up, I was a bit tired and I wrote in the wrong thing. So yeah, that's a little wrong. That should be user access, not user access, sorry. Assigned users. The stakeholders. Yeah, all right. I'll come back. I'm gonna make some notes. All right, list of organizations. And list of stakeholders. Now, depending if there is a organization list in there already, depends whether or not we actually get a list of stakeholders. That's perfectly fine. Once again, the backend will actually handle all of that. But we'll probably get a list of organizations. We'll only do 5 only. And once again, use that search functionality. The list of stakeholders, once again, only 5 only. That's assuming the organization has been set. Once again, the user will be able to type in stuff to search for it. The public links, that should come through... Oh, I don't think we actually send public links. That might be a bit of API data. Sprint planning, that will... I don't know if we want that to come through with the API yet. So why don't we, over here, next to this, instead of data I need, let's just put think about data. I moved my tablet then instead of the pen. All right, so data we need to think about is public links. And not stakeholders. It is part of the sprint planning. What's the purpose of the public links? So, for example, you might have a Kanban board. Let me actually get you a real life example that you might want to share with the public or with a client or so forth like that without having to worry about login details and so forth. So, and also for those on YouTube, it's an optional feature inside NearBeach. But as you can see, it will actually open up a public view of this. The user won't be able to do anything in here. It's all locked down intentionally. But yeah. You can actually see what I've written in here and what I kind of want to implement and so forth like that. So yeah, this is pretty much what we're wanting to implement and fix with NearBeach. So there you go. There's a live example of the public links. So yeah, optional. So you might not want to do that. Oh, I don't have another Kanban board live, but for example, you might have an object or anything like that, and if you don't create a public link, there's no public link. Could you solve that with query parameters and use the same route, but fetch the data and render it differently based on it? The idea is that that key, that UID key, actually sort of unlocks that board. And yeah, I could do that all with a query string. I could have object equals Kanban board, ID equals 2, or location ID equals 2, and then I could have a UID equals that UID, and then do it like that. Yeah, that can be done like that. The reason why I didn't do that is I just didn't. Man. All right. So we need, sorry, getting back to this, we need to think about where those are coming from. But for tonight, that's fine. If I decide to add them into the API, I can do that at a later date. That won't hurt anything. Oh, and we've just hit another ad break. All right, hopefully everyone's going well tonight. I'm going to quickly grab some water because I've realized I haven't had much to drink tonight. There is Socks. Hopefully she can entertain you. I'm just going to shut my curtains early tonight. And I'll be right back. All right. Sorry about that. I need a drink. The same URL linked, but with a public yes at the end. All right. Welcome back, everyone. The reason being, give me a couple of seconds. I will actually do this visually. I've just got to log back in. Got to find a board I can show. All right, definition of done. That is perfect. I am showing my screen. All right. So we're going to bring this down. Oh, I hate when that happens. Clearly, I brought the thing down here. All right. So this is a live public link. Don't worry about this. I've actually put this on our blogs and stuff like that. You'll notice that I can create another one, and I can turn it off and turn it back on and turn it off and turn it back on and turn it off and turn it back on. The idea of these links is if someone, let's say this link gets out and we're not happy that that link got out, we can suddenly turn it off and we can delete it. We can go, all right, cool. We're going to turn that off. And then all of a sudden it shoots you to the login screen there. The reason why I didn't just do public equals yes for these particular boards is we want this sort of fine-grained control. We want to turn it on and off whenever we feel like it. And that's why there's a UUID code in there. But yeah, most of that could literally be, you can do product NearBeach and then /public, and then you can do a query string with all that data in there. I would separate out the query string. So I would definitely keep public in there. Yeah, I would definitely keep the public in there. Just so it's easier dev-wise that I can go, all right, cool, this particular URL pattern goes to this particular view. Yeah. What are you meowing at? All right, going back into here. Sorry, was just got to think about all of this. So I know we'll collect this right away. So that's the first priority before everything else. I'm just wondering what would be good for secondary priorities, and we could actually bundle up quite a lot of this. So for example, list of statuses and priorities, that could be in a second group. List of groups, potential users. I'm gonna put that as a number 3, just because if we need to get to that, we need to interact with the page, and by that time we can put that further down the stack. List of organizations and stakeholders. In fact, I'm going to put those all as 3. Actually, I'm going to change my mind on something. Wait, just click. I can see you click on it. All right, socks. They want to see you, socks, not me. Yeah, that's actually a good point. Sorry, I'm just giving a good thought at the moment. The problem is that client will probably, let's say, bookmark that private link and so forth like that. At the moment, when they go to that page, the page itself isn't. It shouldn't be cached. So I'm just thinking out aloud. I don't know if a third-party solution like Cloudflare would cache that page. It's a view rather than template that you want to control over HTTP caching. The template is just a chunk of HTML that can be rendered by any view. The view is what sends HTML response to the browser. Django comes in with some handy decorators for controlling HTTP headers. By returning a view, you can simply... Alright, cool. That is actually, a good point. And we might have to look into nav caching. No, NearBeach.utrack. Actually, this would be a feature. Give me 2 seconds. All right, sorry, I've just got to figure out which swim lane this belongs in. It's definitely not API, definitely not database. Automation, containers, and security technically falls under security. All right, I'm gonna go Django no cache policy should be added to all private links. And this is something we can definitely implement very easily. Wait, find. Okay, we just go down here. I'm just gonna copy this. I'm just gonna put this into here. We should implement a policy where we never cache to private pages. That way, if a user turns off a private page link, no data will be sent to the user. So, yeah. We'll also be using a special API to actually fetch the data and all that. So, yeah. We'll need to actually put that on there. Also, oops, I've locked the cards. Yeah, I do that constantly, locking the cards. All right. I'm happy. I won't say that's a bug. It's going to definitely be a feature. I'm going to put that one up there. All right. Give me a couple of seconds. Sorry, I'm gonna do the numbers in different colors. So list of statuses, list of priorities, list of groups, and list of potential users should all go through that one. And then list of organizations, list of stakeholders. Yeah, they're a lot less needing. Now, the good thing is I can group this into one API call. And potentially I can do all of this. I've also realized we're not sending the notes through. Let's have a look at the mock-up. we'll have linked objects, project documentation, and notes and comments. I'm just thinking, didn't you say earlier that stakeholders is dependent on org's priority? Yes, yeah. So, for example, let's say we've got a project. Actually, let me write out the organizations first. Let's say you got org 1, and then you have, let's say, Barry, Sam, and Todd working there. Then you have org 2, and you have Frank, I've run out of names. So, Rubber Duck. Just because I got a Rubber Duck in front of me. And Apple Mouse. I've also got an Apple Mouse in front of me. So, let's say you go down here, I'm gonna hopefully move that a bit over so you can see. I'm just gonna remove that organization. If you actually click in an organization and let's say you add in org 1, you only want to show org 1 data in there. This is the initial call. So I'm just thinking of the initial call, what data I need to sort of pull down and the priority of it too. So I can get away with not calling every bit of data straight away. So the highest priority is the project information. So if we were to have a look at this, if all of a sudden you have the project details, the statuses, story points and all that filled in really quickly, you're not worried too much about any of this data here. If that fills in just a little bit later, that's going to be fine. No one's going to throw up a fuss about that. Yeah. So I'm just thinking of priority of data. Because it doesn't matter if these load in sort of parts. Now, this section is going to be a bit different. We're going to have this in tabs. So one tab is going to be linked objects, then project documentation and using comments. So they will go in a very lower priority. Linked objects will be a lot higher than all of those. In fact, I probably won't load in project documentation until someone actually goes to that tab. And notes and comments won't load in until someone goes into that tab. And I think we're going to move the sprint planning and public links into the tabs too. Yeah, now I remember what I'm going to do with those. Yeah, I'm going to move those into tabs. That way we don't have such a long column here. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, in reality, because we're in control of the API and all that kind of stuff, we can shove every bit of detail into that API call. It's just that when the user gets to this page, they have to wait for every bit of data for it to fully load up. However, what I'm doing is I'm like, all right, you get your project details straight away, and then from there, we'll just load everything else in. And usually they just want to see the project details. They're like, all right, cool, and they read all this. It doesn't matter if this takes a fraction of a second longer to actually load in. In fact, I won't be loading in the project documentation, notes and comments, public links, or sprint planning until they click on those tabs. Linked objects. I'm trying to remember. And hey, Marahim. Sorry, I just saw your comment just then. I'm working on NearBeach. We are refactoring NearBeach completely, so a lot of deleted code. And we're actually trying to design it from the ground up again. This time we're sort of looking at it as a single page application. So, yeah. It makes sense to show first content paint with most important data. Yep, well, extra data has been loaded in the background. Yeah. and some unnecessary data just not being loaded in. So for example, if no one goes to project documentation, we don't want to load that in whatsoever. Yeah. Okay, so that will be that. I do have a test to do. Because the one problem is we won't get the list of statuses or priorities very, very quickly, but they'll fill in pretty quickly. All right, I'll skeletonize that until I get the lists. All right. Yeah. Yeah. I hadn't thought about an intersection observer. Honestly, I'll tell you the truth there. Mine was going to be very, very, very simple. I was going to put an event on the tab change. So if someone hits the tab to change it, it will check if it's gotten any data. And if it hasn't got any data, it'll go off and fetch that data. If it's got any data, it's like, all right, cool, I won't do anything. So I was going to do it very simply. All right, so I'm just thinking there is one little tiny problem with this, but I think it's tiny. It's minimum. So if we get the status and the priority values from the project, project 1 API call. And what I mean is in here, you get to actually see the priority. There it is. It's a 2. It's normal. That's just the default. And we got the status where we've got ID1 and new. The problem is with the drop downs, it'll have that bit of information, but it doesn't know what to show there. So it'll be a bit of a issue. What I was actually thinking, is we have a suspense and that we wait until all of that's loaded in. So the properties will show a random bit of a random card for the moment with a loading icon or something like that. Yeah, I like that idea. Oh, be careful, socks. You know what you got to be careful of. All the rest of the data will be filled out. It's just these are drop downs. So we'll be sending, hey, this is value 1, but it just won't know what value 1 is. It's like value 1, so it will show the number 1. Right, so that's what I got to do for those. And then I'm fine with those being a suspense. And once again, we just have a card, a little icon spinning around. That will be fine. At the start, actually, no, I'll get that data straight away. So, or will I? No, I don't have it in this here. I think all right, I'm going to need to actually put in both the groups and users into the API call. That's not going to be a problem. That way, if you're using the API, you get to know straight away which groups and users actually, which groups have access and which users have been assigned. Why are cats and toddlers naturally drawn to the PC power button? I know. Socks nearly once turned off this PC. She was sitting on the thing and I was like, oh god. Yep. She causes trouble, let's just say that. I've put enough stuff around the power button now that sort of deters her. Alright, so one change I'm going to do is I'm going to put in the groups and users straight into the project. That is definitely going to be useful for anyone who is just using the API to sort of manipulate information and stuff like that on NearBeach. Cool. I like that idea. I'm going to close that. I'm going to close that. The next thing we should... So this group access will be fully loaded in when we get the data. Stakeholders won't be, but that's fine. Those won't exist there anymore. And then we've got properties. And that will be... alright, cool. I like that idea. Alright, I've just got to figure out where I'm storing this information. And how. So... As you can tell, there's quite a number of objects and so forth like that. This might be best to store this in state management. And the reason being is we'll have the main root component here. We'll then have, we've got the two different two different column components and so forth like that. We've then got components split off into there like that and all of that fun stuff. And it becomes a problem. In fact, we actually have, no, I think I did this with CSS. We have, yeah, I did it with CSS. We have components bumping around everywhere. Let's say we do the initial call here. So this is the API call, happens up here, and the data gets set up there. I'm just going to undo that because I was meant to write data instead. If we need to actually send stuff down to, let's say, this component here, we do it, and then if we manipulate it, we've got to send it up. It becomes problematic. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have an object state. And also I'm going to have the child object state. But we're not going to work on the child object state tonight. Yes, Pinya, yeah. There are some objects like the Kanban board. So the Kanban board will be the object, and you double click on a card. You kind of want to store all that card information into the child object state. That way you don't need to leave the Kanban board page whatsoever and load in data and then have to go back to the Kanban board and resync and all that. All that mess we don't need to worry about. But what we can... I don't know where I was going with that. Yeah, we'll need the child object state to store that sort of data separately from the parent object. But today we're just going to deal with the object state because we don't have a child in a project. So, Pinya, yes. All right, let's go into the stores. Let's right-hand click. Let's create a new directory. We're going to call it object. Now you'll notice that I've got a navspec and a navts. We're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to go object.spec.ts. That's going to be the test file for our object, and then we'll just have the object.ts down here. Easy done. So it'll be very similar to like the nav and so forth like that. I don't foresee this being overly complicated at all. I feel like this is going to be a very simple object. It's going to have all the fields. It's going to... Pinia allows us to do partial updates, which is great. Let me just double check with the nav. The nav has an action where we toggle it. I'm just trying to think. I'm very certain that we can get a state and use it as a model. Give me a couple of seconds. Let me just check that. Pinia, store, field. I'll use field as model. Don't sit on the mouse. I know what you were doing. Alright, let's bump that over there so you guys can read. So we've got the state. Yeah, it's going to be something very similar to that. You don't need to do much to make the state compatible with TypeScript. Alright, cool. Yep. That's not what we're here. What we want to do is we just need to do that. You know what? I like that. That's simple. That's easy. That's gonna save me a lot of time. All right. Cool. I'm used to like map getters and stuff like that with the VueJS. I'm not complaining how simple that is. So let's go into here. I'm going to put the nav TS over here. I'm way too tired to remember all of that. So store, what we're going to call this is object store. Well, object.ts, sorry, that's just import define store from Pinia. Sweet. We're going to export. We're going to learn how to spell. I've just got to go back to school one day. Export const. Now this is going to be use object store define store. We're going to call it object. That's easy. It just works. TM Todd Howard. Yep. Except it actually works. We're going to do this, and we're going to return. I'm going to write add code here for the moment. I can't think. Sorry, I'm just having a think if there are any actions that I need in here. I mean, potentially. However, at the moment, it also works when Todd Howard says so. It's just not the way you expect. Yep. That's yeah. Except I haven't played a Bethesda game since Fallout 4. I was watching people play it and I was just like, I mean, nothing against the games if you enjoy them. If you enjoy them, you enjoy them. That's great for you. I haven't. And you're talking to someone who played the hell out of Morrowind, Oblivion, Skyrim, Fallout 3, and I love those games. Haven't played since Fallout 4. Oh, fair enough. I have New Vegas. I've been meaning to play it. I have not sat down to play it yet. I actually have it on, I think, DVD. Proton TV. And it doesn't help that I don't have a Windows computer. So, yeah. Fallout New Vegas. Oh, it's gold. Alright, cool. I can potentially play it. So, yeah. One day I will play more games again. I need a holiday soon. Gives me an excuse to play my Switch. You know, 10-hour flight. Though nowadays with some flights they don't let you actually use the battery packs anymore, so which might be a problem. You can install it with electricity. Alright, cool, sweet. Yeah, I just quickly looked it up. Because I bought it, I think a decade ago or something like that. Yeah, I just never sat down and played it. I worked with someone who absolutely loves it. And every now and then on Steam, I see a little pop-up notification being like, they're going to have a 48-hour weekend in Vegas there. And then 2 minutes later, you see the pop-up again, and you're like, oh, you crashed. Yep. Right, so going back with this, what we need to store in here is pretty much most of this information. The great news is all the objects are very, very similar. And Linky Moose Codes, great name, by the way, great name. Welcome. I do hope you are enjoying my content. So tasks will have pretty much the exact same fields as projects. Requirements will actually have slightly different fields. They won't actually have the start date or end date because requirements, user stories, don't actually have a start and end date. They will also have requirement items as a child object, which will also appear on this screen. Now, did I hear a cat come crashing through the door, or is that my imagination? Most likely my imagination. Yeah, I just need to key in all the fields that I'm going to be using. Now, one of the ones that will be completely and utterly different would be the Kanban board. We might actually have its own state for that. And hi, Power Rampage. How are you going? Hopefully going well. Welcome. So, we'll have title description. I like doing things in alphabetical order so I can find things. I struggle with finding things on the page. People have been like, oh yeah, just click that thing that says that. And I'm just like, I don't know where it is. We'll have status. Now, status is actually going to be a number. So it's going to be 0 at the start. We'll also do an interface for this. So any new developers looking at this can actually see what we're expecting. We'll have priority. Once again, that's going to be a 0. We'll have story points. Start date and end date. Now, this is going to be a bit weird. They could be null. So I'm going to just put them as null for the moment. But I've got to have a look at what project 1 will be. They come through as strings from the back end. And it gets even better. This is the joys of HTML and HTML components and JavaScript not always lining up. It needs to be in a different format for the HTML components. I think about 3 weeks ago, or actually a bit longer because I had back in January, I was broken by trying to convert that into something a HTML component could use. So the good news is I'm going to use a JavaScript library to help me with that. But it does mean that I'll probably look at this as just being string values and have that JSON library sort of do the translations for me. So I'm going to use Luxon. Just to do that conversion. So the idea is it will just handle all of that for me, and I don't need to worry. All right, so we've got the start date and end date. Those will be null by default. That's perfectly fine. Now we'll also have. Oh, why is it unfortunate? I honestly don't know why that's an unfortunate name. I'm trying to think why. The only thing I can think of is food. Oh! Alright, fair enough. Fair enough. No, I get that. I get that. Curious why we need to store data from an API. So, let's go over here. This is how all the components will line up here like this. I am going to rub out the confusing part. There we go. Ignore that confusing part. I'm just gonna... We don't need that. We know what the thing's going to be called. Now, the idea is... if the user's editing stuff on the page, let's say we have start date down here. We need to get data from the API. We will then store it in a store management. This will then send data down to this component, and also at the same time it'll send it back up. That way, if I need to reference that start date somewhere else, there might be a bit of logic somewhere else dealing with that start date. It can get access to that bit of data all the way over here. And essentially, we're manipulating the data too, so we do need to actually store it locally. It doesn't make sense just fetching it, rendering stuff out, and then doing nothing with it. So, yeah. Alright, so I'm going to start with that much data at the moment. We're going to have a look at the API where... Actually, no, we're going to key in all the API sort of data too. So we've got description ID. Ooh, we don't have ID in there. No, you can use refs. It's just that I don't want to... Oh, where's my diagram? I don't want to set that all up here and then have to pass that information down here and then emit it back all, you know, like that. Whereas if I use a store, I can just access the store from any of these components, and that will be fine. Yeah, pretty much. It's just a central ref, really. Which I'm not complaining about, because I might need that start date somewhere else. Or in another, or I might need to reference it, or something like that. All right, so we've got all that. I'm not prop drilling. That's why I'm using that. Why I'm using Pinia. That's why I'm storing stuff up in Pinia, to stop me from prop drilling. We should also in here put a... Oh, I know one action. We're going to have clear state. And we're going to have fetch state. in here. So the clear state will do exactly what it says it does on the box. It'll just clear out everything. So if we actually go to another, let's say another project or something like that, it will instantly clear out that data, and we can then trigger a fetch state from that. Back with food. Ooh, nice. In this case, you'll use a TanStack query. I've never used a TanStack query before. And I'm not using React. I'm using Vue. All right, so that also means I'm just thinking if I wanted to put... Actually, did I want to fetch the state up in here? View query. Oh, I hate that bug. Clearly I moved this down here. This is in focus now. TanStack query, formerly known as Vue query, is often described as missing data fetch library for web applications, but it's more technical terms. It makes fetching, caching, synchronization, and updating server state on your web application a breeze. All right, cool. Does it work with Django? Most common web frameworks do not come with opinionated way of fetching or updating data in a holistic way. Because of this, developers end up building either meta frameworks, which have strict options about data fetching, or they invent their own ways of fetching data. We're just using Axios, and an API. That's not outside. That's not anything new. This usually means coupling together component-based state and side effects, or using a general purpose. All right, cool. Oi, keep your... What the fuck? The fuck? All right. Let's go to quick start. So I'll zoom in. I don't know why that's on very tiny text. Use query, TanStack view query, query equals new client. All right, cool. Query pending equals use query, query notes. All right, cool. Mutation, use mutation on success query, invalidate queries. All right, template, VF pending, VS error. Okay. Dedicated dev tools, yep. View dev tool, transaction. All right, yep. You got a const use query. From scope, Axios. Yeah, we're using Axios. Got get groups, then response.data. Const data equals query groups. So that's the old other thing. Tap narrowing to do. query function, fetch groups. Query key, use projects. So you've got a function. When keeping can't read. When creating a composable for every for a query of your first choice, maybe to write it like so. All right, yep. We might consume the component like that. All right, cool. I'm gonna have to actually look into this at another date. We can call the hook use query in each component, and it'll only send the request once. Oh. All right. I'm only gonna have this call at once in one place. It's just that I'm doing multiple calls to, and the other calls will be for lesser required data. It has its own cache store. Okay, but do I have control over that store? Because I'll need to lay it out in a particular way. To sort of match what the API has. And in some cases, I'll need extra sort of fields for myself. So, okay. I'll have a look into it, but at the moment, I can't just suddenly cartwheel onto something new. Just because I just don't know it. That's the thing. I have to go with what I know at the moment. I'm way too tired to try something new today. So yeah. All right. So ID, title, end date, start date, organization. We don't have. An OP. So organization. That is. That's actually going to be an object. I've just realized too, with priority, we only need to store the int. However, this was a request from a user when we were building the API and stuff like that, not to actually have just the IDs pass through or just the values pass through. But actually also included as an object where you got the value and the label. However, we only need the value on that. So when we update the store, we just pass through your value. I mean, we can create something more complicated, have value and so forth in the priority. Though I mean that I can see myself needing that at one point. Yeah, I'm changing my mind on that. Same with the status. I can actually see myself potentially using it later. And status is actually made up of these particular fields. We've also got the high order status. We've got the ID and status. All right, just wait. ID. Status. High order status. Going to be value and label like that. Oh, don't we have the... Oh yeah, there's no ID for that. No, that's set in stone. That's in... Alright, cool. Yeah. Yeah, I might as well just copy what we get from the API. All right. Before I continue on any further, I want to add in the groups and user access into the API. So I'm just going to open up NearBeach. I'm going to open up the views, API 1. We will then have project API view. I can close this side down here. Sweet. I can then minimize this. Awesome. Actually, I need that open because we'll need to edit the serializers too. So in this sort of case, we will have project serializers. This will have, yes, the organization, priority, and status. Oh. That's correct. That's the get fields. We don't have group list in here. Yeah, when we're doing a patch, we won't need the group list. But I'm not defining the group list there. But here's the group list. All right, so group list is already put into place. I'm just wondering, because we'll have users in multiple different places, we should actually put that into here too. That will be user list equals serializers dot primary key related field. Many equals true. Query set will equal the users. We don't need to worry about too much around that. We will have required equals false and write only equals true. All right, cool. Now I don't know why it's flagging that. Oh, it's importing the... So that will be from... Alright. Because it won't be from... Actually, we are using Nox. Yeah, no. That's... Alright. I can't remember where that is. Django, user, import user. Table. Or model, I should say. Conf. No, hang on. There we go. Auth import. I just want to import the user model. Hang on, give me 2 seconds. Let's find out if I've done it somewhere else. Auth.models. Okay. Massive brain fart. Forgot everything. So, yeah. Alright, so we'll also need a user list. Once again, that'll be optional to fill out. We'll go into the project serializer. What we need to actually do is we need to pop that out when in here. So we'll just do that. We'll get rid of that and we'll just type in user list. Whenever someone's patching it, write only. Sorry, this will only be read only. Sorry, not write only. All right, so that way with the patching, I don't need to do anything. Because we're only filling it out when someone's fetching data. Okay, cool. So we'll go with this. We're happy with the create. We're happy with the destroy. With the list, we're not going to fill it out. At list for all the projects, that's too much data to fill in there, so we're ignoring it. Partial update, we're not worried about. And retrieve is what we're retrieving. So we've got the project results, that gets all the project results. This is, now I've done this before. This is where we create the serializer and then we append extra data. I don't know if we do it like that. I'm gonna have to look at how we actually did that originally, because I can't remember it. I went to the wrong thing. API version 0. Project API. We don't want the update, we want the retrieve. Maybe I never did it at this level. Available data or object data. This will be part of object data. Groups and user API view. Oh god, there's a lot. So not create. No, not what we want. Not what we want. Actually, that list is probably what we want. Cargs, destination, location ID. If the destination equals sprint, you don't have the up. All right, cool. Serializers, get user from list. All right, cool. And then that goes all the way up to there. That's how we've done it. Okay. Now, no ad break is about to start. There we go. Excuse me for a minute. Sorry, I'm just going to the bathroom very, very quickly. like that. All right, ads are almost over. Just make sure I'm not on the ad screen. Yep, there we go. All right. I've known we did this in multiple places. I don't know if it's... I don't think we can do that. But I'm just going to test it just in case. Probably will fail. Yeah, it's looking like it's failing. All right. Relation fields should not provide a query set argument when setting read only equals true. Oh, all right. And Corpse Jack, how are you? Hopefully you're going well. Welcome back. I've made a big mistake here. So, a relationship field should not provide a query set argument when set to read only. All right, cool. Which means I gotta make my own serializer, don't I? So this is going to be user serializer. From REST framework import serializers. Class is user serializer, serializer model serializer. Class meta is going to be model is going to be user from there. All right, and the fields are going to be ID, username, first name, last name, email, and I think that's it. I think that's all we really need. Profile picture. We've already got to use the serializer. Don't worry, I'm just going to delete this one. We have this one, use the serializer down here. I don't know why I should actually move that one up to there and refactor everything like that. And the reason being is we've got a permission serializer which deals with the users themselves, and then yeah, the user serializer in here where we've got profile picture and all that kind of stuff, which, and then we've got all that extra information and so forth like that. So sweet. So this object then gets changed to a user serializer, which we will import. I'm just going to cheat. I'm going to hit this little thing, import name. We've got that as a NearBeach sort of thing. That's perfectly fine. Let's hit refresh. Or stop and rerun. All right. Yeah, no, that's all fine. Is it this that it's complaining about? Oh, hang on a minute. Hang on a minute. I'm probably project serializer. I'm not calling it in here. So we'll have organization We'll have group list, and then we'll have user list. Okay. Init. Line 3. All right. Project. Yep. All right. Cool. Project serializer. Yep. In the base. On line 3. Alright, I don't need the query set there because we're using a serializer that I've made of our own. There we go. Alright. God, I'm tired. It's just doing that, which we have a reload. Yeah, we've got organization priority status. We don't actually have user details passing through. This is where I know we've done it before. We're just going to go Django REST framework, serializer, append data. So we've got class serializes method field, get to that all. No, not what I want. I'll have a look here. Minute. You. I probably keyed in the wrong word. Django REST framework. Self-context, get serialized context. Alright, cool. Nope. Create, nope. No, I know what I want. Actually, I think we do it on the project results user list equals user group objects.filter. And then if I go project results group list equals group objects.filter, it's adding there. And we'll definitely need to import this. Project object does not support. All right, yep. So it doesn't work there. No, that's not what I want. No. I know we've done this before. I'm trying to remember where we did it and how we did it. All right, we've got NearBeach. We've got the views. We've got the API. I am going to have a look at one of my APIs. Give me 2 seconds. Sorry, we're just going to go prod API version 0. We are going to go. I'm going to write project 1. Yeah, we don't have anything there, but if I go into object data, alright, so the tag. No, we're not adding anything onto there. We've got the serializer there. We've got the destination tag serializer .data.tag list. Oh no, that's getting data from there. Alright, no, that's getting data. We've got the get tag list, which is up here. Def get tag list. We just get all of that data and then we serialize it. That's not what we want. With serialized tags, make sure that, alright, cool, remove, length. Alright, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's not what we want. I was pretty sure it was under here. Get group list, alright, and then get group and user list. So those get all of those, and then it does it like that. Yeah, not exactly what we want. So that's getting object results. We filter, yep, all right, group results, yep. Just getting just getting all of that. Oh, all right, we're good. Yeah, absolutely forgot how I did this. It's not an object sprint. We've got that serializer, but we only call from it. And then we've got that, and then we've got the get sprint list, which is up here, which is a static method. We have the sprints, and we just return the sprints. Yeah, that's pretty stock standard. Yep, method not allowed, method not allowed. Well, yeah, all right. Customer list API. You got a serializer. That's perfectly fine. Serializer. Customer list serialize it. So we pass through just the customer list. Okay, that's all we're really doing there. Yeah, nothing more than that. All right, let's look this up. Django REST framework. Django REST, adding additional field to model serializers. yeah, that's pretty much that, but we're looking for the data of that. And how we set it after the fact. All right, not quite what we want. This one's to representation, alert, right to do equals new field. Now, thinking how I could achieve this. If I could do it in the Django object, Django ORM, where I just have a, yeah, I don't know how. So yeah. Give me a couple of seconds. NearBeach. Let's see where I actually do that. So groups and users, they come out like this. So you got the group list. Yeah, that's pretty easily done. Yeah, all right. But not what we wanted. All right. Not what we wanted. The notes, not what we wanted. The sprints, not what we wanted. Tags, not what we wanted. Those are basic sort of stuff. Customer lists, not what we wanted. Sprint list, yeah, definitely not what we wanted. Tag list, definitely not what we wanted. With the Kanban boards. Now, oh, we have Kanban board. We have a child element there. So with the Kanban board, when you go with a single Kanban board, you get all the Kanban cards coming through. So we need to retrieve. We've got a query set with the Kanban board. Make sure it exists. If it doesn't, we piss the person off. Kanban results. Kanban board results. Oh yeah, we just do a dot that, and then we just feed stuff through. All right. I thought we did that before. Project results dot. Let's just go group list equals group.objects are filtered. We're just putting everything in there for the moment. Bad idea. We're going to modify this if this works. Boom. All right, cool. However, we don't have the group list here. So I'm just going to refresh that again, but we've hit this. We're going to move forward. We're going to hover over this. Oh, it's because I set group list to... Alright, we'll come back to that one. Project results dot user list equals user dot objects dot filter. Alright, cool. We come back here, we just hit refresh a bunch of times. A user has no attribute profile picture. Yes, we do know that. You know, how did we get away with this in the past? That's where... sends all token, yada yada yada, user quote equals that. That's not what I want. I just want to see how I originally got around this. That will be under available data. That will be... Sorry, that will be object data. There'll be groups and users API. That will be get group lists. That's get group and user list. Potential users. All right, cool. Object results equals object assignment. Now to go group results. Yep. All right, cool. That's depending if it's a Kanban board or anything else. That's returning user with the filter. And we've got to annotate the profile picture and all that kind of stuff on it. All right, I'm just going to nick that for a second. We're going to, of course, modify it. So, we just got the filter. Yeah, we'll just do that. Oh, they're doing it at user groups. It's not what we want to do, but that's fine. We'll remove that, and then we'll go annotate. And then we'll go profile picture. Oh, we'll just yank this one line. All right, profile picture. Oops. Fuck. We need to import that F. That's from the Django models.f. All right, cool. I think that's what we need to do. I think. Document key. Cannot reserve document key. Choices are all of those. What's this for? Change user. Change it to that for the moment. Boom. All right, and now we've got our user list. All right, cool. All right, so that was just a test. What I've probably got to do is handle it with the user group object. So it's actually going to be pretty much this. All right, so we can go in here, we can do this, we can do that. So we've got user groups, objects, filter, all of this. Now, in this sort of case, yeah, some of that we don't need. Yeah, we don't need that. We might need that. But what we need is deleted equals false. We'll need to change this to user groups. We'll have to... this is where we've got to get object group involved too. Oh, we've got to do the shortcut there. We're not actually checking to see if the thing exists. If this fails, then we fail it. All right, cool. Give me a couple of seconds. From Django dot contrib, I think it is, dot shortcuts. Import get. Oh no. That's what I want. All right, cool. Project result equals get 404, where we've got the query set equals project pk equals pk, and we get rid of that. That will handle the 404. And then from here, get user permissions. Oh, get assigned objects. So object assignments equals object assignment dot object dot filter. We're removing anything that is deleted, and because this is a project, we actually want the project ID equal to the PK. Easy done. So we're only grabbing information that we require from here. All right, that is good. Define user, define groups used. So what we need here then is project result equals group dot objects dot filter. We are going to go is deleted equals false, and then another thing we're going to do is we're going to go group ID in object assignment dot values group ID, but we need a filter on that. And what we're filtering, now we've already filtered for deleted, so we don't need to worry about that, but what we need to do is we've got to go group ID is null equals false. So everything has a group ID in there. That gets that, and then that's meant to be project results dot group list, and we'll fix up the group list in a minute. We need to do that at the serial level. Then the next thing we want to do is define user list. You can tell I'm tired because I am typing the most incorrect things possible. So we need project results dot user list equals. This is where we're going to use user.objects.filter. This is also where we don't have is deleted in here. But what we do actually have is we've got the username in. This is where we go object assignment filter, where user. I don't know if it's user ID. And then we just go values. ID. I think we've made it ID in the past. And then we just annotate the stuff on that we need. Like that. This sucks. All right, I'm going to refresh. Knowing I've broken something. Yeah. Cannot resolve group ID into field. Choices are changes created group and then ID. And this is happening on which line? Thank you very much. This is happening on 170. So it is part of this. It'll be... Alright. So this is part of the database change. It'll actually be this. Easy fix. Alright, this is a different thing. Cannot resolve user. Alright, this is... Yep. So I need to... Assigned user ID, which is what I want. So that will be down here. But I don't know if we need that. Alright, we've got another problem. Document key cannot resolve document key in those particular things. We've got document permission, organization. Oh, it might... That actually might be just document now. Or it might just be key. Because we made a lot of changes to the database. And I don't think document's now part of it, so it'll go user profile picture ID key. No, alright, so document ID might still be a thing. There we go. Alright, now we have user list is nothing. We don't have any groups in here at the moment. I need to actually go through and edit the serializer. So we're going to go into the project serializer. We're going to go, nah, let's go down into the base serializer. We've got the group list in here. Now, this is a many to one. Is this write only? And this might... this is where I've got to think about both the create and the delete function. Because this is... When you create, you need to send an ID through, which is why I've got this set up. However, when you read, you got something completely and utterly different. However, we can't just go, all right, cool, we're going to use the same field and go group serializers and then do read only true for that one. Just won't work. I don't even... Do we have a group serializer? I'm pretty sure we got a group serializer. Yeah, we got a group serializer. So, group list equals group serializer read only equals true. We just need to import that. But there's now a conflict. This is going to be like... yeah. The only way around this is if you have a look at the project serializer, you'll have get fields, and we do a bunch of stuff in here. I mean, this could actually belong. This could belong below. In fact, we could pull... Now, everything has a group and users, so that does belong in there. All right. The organizations, though, is a bit different. That's specific for this. So I'm just having a good think about how I want to tackle this problem. Now, one of the problems I will have is if I've got a bunch of logic spread out all over these different classes, it gets harder to debug. Which is why I've only got the get fields up here. And I haven't put the group list pop down further below. But that being said, it makes sense actually putting it down here because I'm changing these particular fields for every other object that inherits this. It's going to be the same logic over and over and over again. The other thing is I don't know if it'll work exactly or if this actually takes over. So we're going to try it out. We're just going to go back into here, realize our copy and paste does not always work and it does some funky stuff. We're going to paste that in like that. We're going to get rid of the organization because it isn't here at the moment. So we're going to go get. We're going to define the method up there. We're going to go get, and then if method equals get, we're going to go field group list equals, and this is where we're going to go group. Oh, sucks. Serializer many equals true, read only equals true, required equals false. So whenever we're getting something, that way when we create, we're doing this. When we get, we do that. Now I'm going to see if Chill Hop Music has actually fixed their sign in. Can I assign standard class property at HTTP classes model user? All right, great. Every Friday they've been breaking it, which is sad and annoying. I don't know if this will work. I'm hoping it works. Fingers crossed. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a breakpoint there and I'm just going to hit reload. Looks like we have hit that breakpoint. So oh. Oh, we're not getting a context. Oh, that's annoying. All right, not a problem. What that means is we're going to go back up into our API. So when we serialize all of this, we're going to do that. And you might be like going, where's the request? Oh, well, it's right here now. All right, we're just going to push through the context of request. I'm just waiting for that to reload. We've got the priority, we've got organization, we've got user list. We don't have group list still. I'm going to re-put that on there. I'm just going to hit reload. So we do hit here. That's great news. We have the context. But I don't see the method. All right, I'm just going to hit play. I know we've done this with the create. So with the create, we send through, we send through that. Exactly like that. And we do it here also with the partial update. So I've just copied that. I'm going to paste that. That looks exactly the same. All right, cool. I'm going to put a little boop right there. We're going to hit refresh. We've hit this. So we're going to hover over request. We should have the... Yeah, we should have the method in here. Well, here it is. Pass content. Parser context. Then the request. Oh no, it's pretty much the same thing. That is really annoying. Pass through this. We've got the create, we've got the get field, self, get attribute, self.context.method. Yeah. This one's the same. So I'm just going to jump down here. It's not part of a protected attribute. All right, not a problem. We'll just play that through. What I want to do then is I'm going to create something new very, very quickly. I'm just going to I'm just going to, I'm on the mockup, sorry, localhost. I'm just going to I'm just going to tick that, and then go updating, and then boom. Huh. Meaning none of this was going to work how I wanted it to. That is really annoying. All right, I can see here that we've got them post there. We've got the meta, the post. We don't have the method. All right, the path. Oh, there's the method. So that's under stream. So we might need to go request stream. right, I'm just double checking that. So under here, we've got the context. Yeah, we don't have it at that level. We've got the request. Then we've got the stream. And then we've got the method. There. And what I've got to do, that should be fine. Let's get attribute. All right, I'm just going to hit play. I'm just hovering over a few things. Oh yeah, that won't happen on that one. But if I hit refresh... Oh. Yeah, alright. Alright, let's have a quick gander again on Google. So, Django REST framework get method in serializer. I mean, I can be really, really annoying. I can do that. That would be very annoying. I don't think that would work. So if we hit refresh, we're here. If I go self context, we've got the method. All right. Oh fuck. And to get that, what the hell? I'm just gonna hit stop. I'm just gonna hit rebuild. All right, the self context has a method get. It's a dictionary that has a get. I'm not going crazy, am I? Yeah, it's gonna have a problem. Problem. Name error. Settings is not defined. Yeah. I'm just double checking this thing. Object, name, all right, cool. This is really annoying. All right. Python get attribute from dict. My dict.get key default value. All right. Method equals self.context.get, and then we're going to do method with the none being the default. I don't know. Let's just hope this works. Done. All right, cool. I think we're just going to have to pass this through like this. It's annoying as hell. I fully understand. I don't like it. The idea being is the request is meant to go through and we get data through the request and all that kind of fun stuff. I'm still sending through the request because we can still use... Oh, sorry, excuse me. In post, we could get some data from there. So, yeah. But otherwise, I'm going to neaten this up. We've got that. This is simply get this partial update will be partial. So what we do is we send through the request. We've got the method as partial. Just double checking that that's what we've called it over here in the base serializer. So we've got the get and patch. Oh, patch. All right. Easy done. We want that as patch. Oh, in this case, no. We're actually filling it out with partial update. Yeah, no, we want that to actually happen like that. The list will happen at the very end. So there's the serializer. We're not going to worry about that. That should still work though. Yeah, that's still going to work. Destroy, don't need to worry about that. This one, this is, we're gonna go method and we're just gonna write in post because that's what's actually gonna happen. Destroy, I need list, I mean, yeah, I'm going to leave it like that. It's not going to be a problem. And now when we come back, we've got organizations, we've got priority, we've got status, we've got group list up here, and we have user list, which is everything that we wanted. Now, we can put this in an order, which I think is going to be a better solution. So if we go into the project serializer, it should be taken in this order. I don't know why it's decided to jumble it all up. That's very annoying. But yeah, group list will work, user list will work. So yeah, I'm happy with that now. All right. Now, what did I want to do? We're going to be finishing upstream very shortly, so yeah, I was just wondering what exactly I wanted to do. So I got the API how I want it to get it. If we key in 8, we can see that, yeah, the group list comes through. All right. So I'm going to close all this. So we've got the object now. Group list, we'll do something like that, and then the user list, do something like that. Awesome. So they've keyed in. Everything's keyed in how we want it. Now, we just need somewhere to call this. And sorry, I'm just giving a little bit of thought in the manner. What I want to do. I kind of want to call it in here. And the reason being is I can then put a suspend around this component and we can get it to wait till it gets the data. I think that's good. That way the page loads. So when someone gets onto this page, it'll load up, but there'll be a suspense object here to be like, hey, we're just waiting for some data. Yeah, I think that would be the better solution. What do you mean do milk? But yeah, we won't add the suspense tonight. But what I can do, I can import the amount from Vue, and then we'll also need to inject this. The API client. So going down, define models, all that kind of stuff. Down here, define on mount. We'll have on mounted. We also need the stores, so we'll need to import the use. This will be use object store. And then we've got to set up the object stores. So define stores. That will be const object store. We'll, yeah, keep it object store. That makes sense. And then down here, what we need to do, object store dot, and this will be clear state. Very, very quick. That just empties out the state, making sure that there's no data in there, which is going to be great. And then we'll fetch the data. And this might actually have to be await sort of stuff. And then this will be a get. In this sort of case, I'm just going to go API version 1 project and then 1 and leave it like that for the moment. I don't think that does anything yet. I'm just going to I think it's meant to go there. We'll do response. I'll add data later. Sorry, add code later. and then we'll have a catch. Handle to do handle errors. We still need to actually implement the error handling and so forth like that. I've just got to think about all the different cases where we're actually sending stuff back, whether we want to actually have that as a toast, an error toast pop up. For example, if we play around with the stuff live, clearly I'm on this fucking web page. If we go in here, there's a toast that pops up with the error. Now the problem is that's a little bit hidden for some users and so forth like that. We might want to actually create something that it stands out and annoys the user a little bit more. Yeah, I've just got to think about it. Oh yeah, that could be possibly undefined, so we'll do that. There we go. So we should be able to contact the data. This should all await, and then we should get some data back. I've cleared the source. What I want to do is under the object itself, I want to actually set up this clear state. And what we're going to do is we're going to... And Ginny, how are you going? Is we're just going to clear out all of this. It's literally just going to be like that. So we're just going to go this dot description equals this. It might be state. And then state.endDate equals null. Yeah, happy Friday. I'm glad it is Friday. It's a long day today. Alright. So yeah, we're just defaulting everything. Essentially down to nothing. The idea of that is we don't want any leftover data from another object actually bleeding through. Oops, I've actually got to extend that out where we've got value equals 0 and label equals nothing. We can delete those. Oops. 4 lines. We then have state.that equals null. Easy done. Oops. We'll have state.status equals that. And that's perfectly fine. And then we'll have state. Like so. Oh, I think I screwed that up. Give me 2 seconds. Actions. Actually, I can just go to another. Where am I? Static. No, not static. Sorry, stores. Man, I'm struggling at the moment. All right. Source, stores, nav, actions. Oh, it is this. Fucking, excuse my French, but I put this before. And it's all like, yeah, you can't do that. Like that. There's navts. I'm going to put that off to that side. This is part of actions. Yep. We've got... okay, I see what's happening. We just do that. And then we get rid of that. All right, cool. And then that should be happy. There we go. All right. Easy done. So that's just going to clear the state. Everyone's going to be happy with that. There's got to be an easier way where we can put through a default state. I'm going to have to look that up. In fact, we can look that up now. I'm curious. Pinia default state or reset state. How to get the initial state without duplicating your initial state. Find your state outside and assign it to the variables as follow. Structured clone initial state. All right. All right. I mean, that's definitely one way of doing it. But, alright, I'm just going to leave it my way, because that's easy to read. This is going to be a very small, small state, so I'm not too worried about it. Yep, easy done. Alright. Sorry, my brain is just going on to boot boot mode. All right, so we should get a response back. And then if I go to Pinia state, so when we get the results back, we're not worried about accessing. Oh. That's what I was after. Which means, this is great news. This is why you read the documentation. Get rid of this. Look at that. That's freaking sweet. All right, cool. In option stores, you can reset the state to the initial value by calling the reset method on the store. That's exactly what we want. Initially, this calls the state function to create a new state object and replaces the current state with it. Sweet. In setup stores, you need to create your own reset method. Oh. Hang on. Internally, this calls the state function to create a new state object, which replaces the current state with it. Yes, which is what we want. In the setup stores, you need to create your own reset method. All right. Not. I'm confused about that. But we'll test this out. That's not a problem. We'll test this out. We'll see if anything breaks. But what we want is we want to mutate the state. So yeah, we do a patch to send through all the stuff. Yep, so we're going to have object store $patch. I think it's meant to be, yep, it's meant to be an object like this. What I'm going to do, because I'm lazy, it's mostly that. No, I should do this properly. I'm just going to put this over here because I'm just like that. So we'll have description. We'll have end date is response data.end date, and then we'll have the group list is like that. We'll have the ID being that. All right, cool. We'll have the organization being that. Sweet. Priority is going to be all of that. We've got the start date. Going to be that. We'll have the status. It's going to be that. We'll have the story points, which is going to be that. We'll have the title, which we've already got. And then we'll have the user list, which is going to be that. So now it should be all of that. Now, I don't know if I can just go response data into there and it matches those fields up how it wants to. It'll be great if we'll do that, but let's test this first to see if this will actually work. NearBeach application. Let's open up our network. I clicked the wrong button, didn't I? We'll open up the network tab. We'll just hit reload. We'll see if it gets stuff. So we can see that it actually got data. Great news. We can see that we've got a response. Even better news. We're going to go into the view. We're going to go into the pinner. We're going to go into the object, and we're going to go, ooh, perfection. Now, instead of doing all of this, I'm going to see if there's a shortcut way. So if we go object store dot patch, can I just send through response dot data? I don't know. Let's find out. Looks like we can, which means I'm going to get rid of all this because that lines up perfectly fine with the state. And less lines of code, a lot easier to read. And not always. There's always, yeah, don't worry about that. But less line of code is usually generally okay. Especially if you're removing a lot of stuff you don't need. All right, cool. I'm actually happy with that. That's great news. That works so very well. Now I just need to hook it up, these fields up. So to do that, we're only going to do a couple of fields at the moment. Oh no, this is project details, update in butterfly. Yep, all right, cool. Sorry, I thought I did something stupid, but I didn't. We're going to go down here. A lot of this will need to be changed. The max length is going to be 255. The min length, I think we set at 5 somewhere. We'll figure this out. The label with title placeholder and all that kind of stuff. We will actually implement the internationalization library into here very shortly, just not today. Same with the tooltip, and actually tooltip, correct. I'm just going to remove the tooltips at the moment. I don't think you need the tooltips here. It's pretty self-explanatory. Is valid. That's going to, I think we're changing that in a bit. I'm trying to think. I think we're handling the validation. But yeah, that's not a problem. What we do want is we want the model to change. And this will be object store dot title. And that should be it. That does mean that we need to get rid of the ref up here somewhere. This ref here. Yeah, we'll get rid of it. We'll also get rid of the description because we no longer need models in here. That will be object store dot description. Easy done. Yeah, let's have a look. So we actually have that from the backend now. There's no description, which is understandable. But if we actually go to this one, blah, 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 ooh, it didn't do it. I'm just wondering if I hit refresh. No, it's only got that at the moment. That's because I'm only getting, all right, no, that's on me. That is on me. What I'm doing is I'm not doing this properly. I need to actually get the router information from in here. So what we want to do is we want to define router. The reason being is we need that ID of the site. So I want to go const router equals user router. Easy done. Now we've got access to it. I keep forgetting how we can get the stuff, so I'm just going to go console log lazy routing. I'm just trying to remind myself how I get to that value. So if I move that to the left, we've got the console. I'm just going to delete everything. I'm just going to refresh everything. Well, we do have expected date number string got undefined. All right, cool. We do need to fix those up, but don't worry, we will fix those up in the near future. We'll probably... That's because I don't have an interface for the new... God, my brain. I don't have an interface for the object store. So down here, we've got this. If we right-hand click, set that as global variable. I'm just deleting everything. We've got temp0. If we go temp0 dot meta, sorry, temp0 dot. Yeah, I forgot how to get to the meta. Oh, All right, we're just going to open up this. Was it options? No. All right, give me 2 seconds. Meta.destination. Yeah, it is route.meta.destination. Like that. But I'm trying to get the ID. Have I... Right, I've mucked up there. Don't worry, I'll refresh. As you see, yep, that's project. So I just want route. So I've got the water bottle in the way. I'm just storing that as a temp text. Temp0. Got match meta, which will have the destination and the object. We've got the parameters, in which case we want the ID. So in here, it'll be route.params.id. In which case we're going to go, there we go. We've got the ID now. So what we want down here is get the project ID. So that's going to be a const ID. That's going to be a number or undefined equals that. Right, cool. Easy done. It's having a problem with ID. Because we probably have ID existing somewhere on here. Or is this gonna be a string? Oh, it is gonna be a string. Oh, boo. All right, oops. That's fine. So we'll have it as a string. If ID equals undefined or ID equals nothing, we want to do handle errors right here, and we just want to return possibly redirect. So yeah. Now this is throwing up more issues. All right. Type of ID equals string that. Oh, it doesn't like that. Give me 2 seconds. I am going to do var a equals 1, 2, yeah, well, things. I type out things. Type of A is object. All right. Yeah. All right. So what we're doing here is we're making sure that we've got it how we want it. In reality, we can actually this. In reality, it's just that. So if it doesn't equal a string, we've got a problem. So yeah. Ooh, we've got ads again. I did say I was going to disappear soon, but that was... Oof. Hang on. Sure, why not? I don't know what I broke before. Alright, so we've got the ID, we check that it is a type string, we go down here, we then type in, we then go to and then we go to ID, we get rid of this here. If there is an error, we're going to have to handle that error, and my thought is, in this sort of case that someone's loading up the page, they might go to a project they don't have access to. If it's a certain error, we should go, no, you don't have access to that. If it's a error where it fails here, we should do a different type of error. If it's an error down here that where they've keyed in, let's say like a name instead of an actual ID, we'll get a different error, like a 413, I think. No, not 413. 403? No, not 403. This is just plain 400. Yeah, 400. Because it is a bad request in those sort of cases. So if someone goes up here and goes project and then goes Bob, yes, it should be 400. In fact, we actually get an error if we have a look at this. 500 error because, you know, Bob doesn't exist. We could double check everything before we send it to the back end. Because in reality, we should double check to make sure that is a number. So. It's math dot. What is it? Sorry. JavaScript math is number. Alright, JavaScript is not a number. Alright, return on a number, milliseconds, yeah. Alright. And there we go. I think that will be a better solution. You kind of want to pass that as a float. Just in case someone goes in here, instead of typing Bob, in this sort of case, nothing actually happens. We don't get an error because we don't actually send off that stuff. But if someone goes 1.1, oh, yeah, hang on. Give me a couple of seconds. Var a equals, let's go 3.4. No, that won't work. Actually, yeah, that will work. All right, so we double check it is a number, and then the next check we do, if pass int id does not equal pass float id, to do add error handling. And what this is ID is not an int. And that's it. That's what we're actually checking for. Pretty stock standard, easy sort of thing to do. And let's bump over into here. We do have an ad time. This is going to be our last ad for the Ignite. And then I'm going to lay on the couch for a bit and probably watch some terrible movie. That'll be fun. Maybe a good movie. I'm not sure yet. Yeah, I'll watch a movie of some sort. So yeah. Hopefully everyone's going well. I'm getting there. You know, it's just exhausted. Making decisions when I'm this exhausted doesn't help too. So I am hoping to sleep better tonight, and hopefully knocking a little bit more off NearBeach tomorrow. So yeah, I've got to start dealing with all the unit testing and so forth like that. So when someone updates a let's say a start, start date or end date or something like that, it just updates it in the system. I've also got to figure out the user experience around all of that too. because I don't think I can. Yeah, I've just got to think about what if a user accidentally deletes stuff and they don't want to have that deleted. So, yeah. Anyway, this should handle the fact if it is an int. This will handle if it isn't a number or the ID is something completely and utterly different. Once we're actually happy with these escape conditions, we can then hit this. That should stop us from getting 500 errors. So if I do something like this, and we go into the network, we don't get any 500 errors. We don't also send off all that information. We haven't handled the error just yet. In these sorts of cases, this will be a 400 error. So I'm going to put this 400 error page. Match the error. .400 error page. All right, so that passes the ID through there. Oops, no, I don't want to refactor that. That then gets our data that we want and passes it in. So in reality, if I do this, we should now have that data. You can see it, it's there. It does it pretty quickly. If we do the blah, 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 blah sort of data and I move to this to the right, we've got that now. If we do slow internet connection today, we've got that. We've got the project only admin. We've got the project QA team. It's filling out the data really quickly, which I like. But that being said, this is on my computer. It's right here. So of course it's going to be quick, and that's not guaranteed everywhere. So for example, you might have a server in a different country and accessing this, in which case then yeah, you've got that sort of certain latency. We still got a handle for that, which is what the suspense will do for us. Yeah, all right. I'm almost done. All right, they're actually watching something. All right, there's a lot of work to go on here at the moment. I was hoping to get most of this done today, but that's fine. I was hoping to, but we're at a point where we're now starting to feed data into here, which I'm happy with. We can do secondary calls for linked objects and all that kind of fun stuff. Yeah. Anyway, I think I'm done for the night. Sorry, I am going to raid. We're going to raid talk a bit again. Pretty cool dude. So yeah. What am I trying to think of? I don't know. And thank you very much, Chinny. So yeah, you two have a good night. I'm exhausted if you can't tell. But yeah, what I've got to do now is I've got to go through and start hooking everything up properly. I do need to read quite a bit of documentation to see what tips and tricks I can do. I've got to get the other bits of detail working. I've also got to get Welk also looking a lot nicer too. Because currently, yeah, this does look pretty horrible. Not gonna lie. But hopefully I can do that, some of that on the weekend. And yeah, anyway, thank you very much, everyone. I hope you have a good evening, and I do hope you enjoyed Toggle Bit. So we're going to bring that down. We're going to put a pause to the music. So yeah, anyway, have fun. And for those on YouTube, thank you very much for being here tonight. It has been wonderful. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It does also help the channel. So yeah, thank you very much.